Good afternoon. This is Tawana Cadian coming to you all. I'm sure that by now most of you have seen that there has been another school shooting. This is very disturbing for me, as I know for a lot of you, no matter what side of the aisle you're on, the reality is our lives have changed and our children's lives have changed. And this is the third school shooting that has taken place on this week. I was not in the same city as my children, and sometimes you don't really realize how something has impacted you until it does. When I received the alert on my phone that there had been a school shooting in Texas, I cannot explain to you what happened. Again, you don't really realize how something has impacted you. But the first thing I did is clicked on the link to the article, and I scanned. I was just trying to scan to make sure that this was not my daughter's school. I realize now how much all of the school shootings have changed me. It caused my heart to sink. It caused my head to hurt immediately, because as a parent, no matter what we're doing, I'm running for Congress. Some of you are doing a whole lot of different professions, but when you are a parent and you are in a climate where on a day-to-day basis, some city that you've never heard of before or some school name that you've never heard of before, you're seeing that there's been a shooting, it changes you. Shortly after I received that alert, then I received a text message from my daughter, which was even sadder. It was my daughter sending me a text from school letting me know that 8 people had been killed in a school shooting. Our children have changed. Our children are not worried about the same things that we used to be worried about, like, making sure they're focusing on getting everything they need to be eligible for scholarships for college, or worried about boys or girls, or if they look good enough. The children are going to school afraid. We seriously have a problem. I want to share something with you that many people don't know. In 1981, I was in the 2nd grade, and my teacher told us she needed us to sit quietly for a little bit because we had a special report to watch. And I remember sitting towards the back of the class. My last name was W. And she turned on the TV, and everything seemed normal, so I thought. But remember, it's a 2nd grader's mind. I was looking at the TV, and I saw President Reagan. I saw him smiling, I saw him waving, and then all of a sudden, I heard a gunshot. I was in the 2nd grade, and I'm saying this so that you'll understand that shootings impact everyone. When the gunshot went off, one of my classmates started screaming, and she ran out of the classroom. I ran after her. I remember running down the hallway, chasing my friend because I didn't know what was wrong, and my teacher ran after her. And the reality is, we didn't know anything about post-traumatic stress disorder. We didn't understand that. But my classmate that ran out of the classroom on that day in the 2nd grade, she was experiencing post-traumatic stress. She'd seen her father shoot her mother and kill her mother. And of course, back then, people just kind of didn't know better than to show 2nd graders a news report of an attempted assassination on the President of the United States. And as we know, his press secretary, Mr. Baker, was shot and paralyzed. I called my friend because I was filling out a candidate questionnaire a few weeks ago, and it was about gun reform. And as I was going through each question, everything about that day in the 2nd grade began to come back to me. It came back just as clearly. And I sent my former classmate a message on Facebook, and I asked her to call me when she had a little space. And she called me, and we talked, and I asked her, I said, do you remember what happened in the second grade? Do you remember sitting down to watch a news program about President Reagan? And I began to tell her what happened on that day. And guess what? She didn't remember that day. As she said to me, she said, "Tawana, I remember everything about the day that my father shot my mother. I remember sitting at the table. I remember playing with a puzzle with my mom. I remember what my mother had on. And then I remember hearing a loud bang coming, and I looked up and saw my father." And she shared with me just how much she's missed her mother and how much of her life her mom missed. Her mother missed every part of elementary school and high school graduations, her marriage, the birth of her children, her grandchildren. I'm saying all of this to say this. I know that we're going to have a lot of people that tell us that we shouldn't be talking about gun reform. This is not about confiscating guns. This is not about confiscating guns, but it is about making sure that citizens are safe. It's about making sure that children are safe. It's about making sure that when my children and your children and grandchildren, nieces, nephews, neighbors are going to school, that their focus can be on their education. Don't think for 1 minute that our children are not suffering from some type of post-traumatic stress because of all of the things that they are seeing. They are afraid. They are nervous. I'm going to make my way back home, and I'm going to give my children a really big hug and let them know that I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure that they are safe in school and make sure that their friends and their teachers and the lady that hands them their lunch and the secretary and the principal are all safe. We have a responsibility. I mean, this is too much. It's just too much. I want you all to think about it. I want you to search your heart. I want you to search your mind. But know that when I got that alert and my heart dropped and I scanned through to make sure it was not my daughter's school, know that somebody else did the same thing, but it was their child's school. It was their child's school. These children had plans for the summer. These children had plans for tonight even. In their lives, those who lost their lives and everybody around them, their lives have been changed forever. So I want us as fellow citizens, as fellow parents, to work together for gun reform. I need your support. I'm going to work for you, and I'm working for all of our children. Thank you.